Also, knowing you're pregnant when it's only been 4 weeks is insane to me because obviously I was not good at keeping track apparently, but, like, I mean, I had friends who were like, "I got pregnant yesterday," and I'm like, "Girl,
Mm-hmm.
how do you
Yeah, how do
know?
you, yeah.
How do you know?"
All right, you guys, we have got a case today that is so enraging that everything that you own and everything that you will own in the future will be thrown out the window
Perfect.
post haste.
Love it.
And Nikita does not know this case yet,
I do
so I'm
not.
going to be telling her. And a big thank you to Madison for writing this one up. And this, I don't know what's going to happen, but it might end up being a two-parter.
Well, we are
Yeah.
yappers.
And there's just a lot
So,
to this case. You guys know Canton, Massachusetts is my Roman Empire, and that's where this case
mhm.
takes place.
Yeah, well, this morning we had to push back recording so you could add some extra tidbits in there. So, I'm very interested in what's
Yeah.
about to happen.
And there's just so much movement in all of the things in Canton and the Norfolk County DA's office and like all of these things. So, yeah, we're going to talk about it. There are
Yeah.
some trigger warnings though. We're going to be talking about some abuse of a minor, and
Don't love that.
it's yuck. The whole thing is yuck. So, let me give you just a little overview here. In February of 2021, police officers performed a welfare check on, at the time, 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore in Canton, Massachusetts. When they got into her
Into her apartment.
apartment, what is wrong?
Whew. We're starting
Why?
strong today.
Man, I haven't even had lunch yet. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. When they got into her apartment, they found the young teacher's aide dead in her bedroom. From what they determined, I will add after 4 hours, was a suicide. It would
4
take
hours.
4 hours. It
Okay.
would take more than 2 years and multiple law enforcement agencies investigating before someone was finally charged with her murder. The investigation revealed a horrifying story of grooming and abuse, all stemming from local police officers, because we love to hear that, and
Mhm.
leading to the murder of Sandra and her unborn baby.
Oh.
She was pregnant.
Oh. Okay. Well, I already have some suspicions.
Hmm.
None of them are good.
No, none of them are good. And they're actually so much worse than you can even imagine. It's
Oh.
terrible.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about Sandra's background. Sandra Marie Birchmore was born on May 13th, 1997, to her mother, Denise McCain Birchmore, in Stoughton, Massachusetts. Denise raised Sandra as a single mother, and her mom, Grace Coughlin, helped her until her death in 2001. So Sandra never had a relationship with her birth father. Her mom had been married to a man who died before Sandra was conceived or born. And so then she had a stepdad who she never, well, no, not stepdad. Her birth father, she never got to know. So
Right.
and that, friends later said that that did really bother her growing up. Like that was hard for her, which I cannot imagine.
Yeah.
And there's no father named on her birth certificate. There's just really no knowledge about that. Denise had a chronic illness, and Sandra was a caretaker for her mother. And family member Barbara Wright said of Denise, quote, "I don't remember a day when she wasn't sick with something." Another one of her
Oh.
relatives, Kelly Nee, told the Boston Globe that because of her mother's condition, Sandra had to grow up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
She said, quote, "She was never brought up like a child. She was a young adult at an early age." And people close to the family said Sandra took on a lot of responsibilities. She would help a lot. She would even make sure her mom took her medications. And they were very close. Like,
Yeah.
Sandra and her mom were super, super close. After her grandmother Grace died, Sandra and Denise lived in their own apartment, but they moved in with, I'm sorry, they didn't move in with Denise's aunt and uncle, Claire. So Claire was Denise's mom's sister.
Okay.
And Gerald Godet, I think is maybe how you say their last name. They lived really close by, and so they kind of became Sandra's default grandparents. So they were
Got
also
it.
very
Yeah.
close. Um, they were like did everything together. They had a huge part in raising her. Sandra had a huge heart. She was very protective of the people that she loved, and the Boston Globe reported that even as a young child, she was all about safety. As a kid, she insisted to a friend that they get off their bikes and walk them through the crosswalks. Like she was very like,
Oh, a
this
rule
is how you do
follower.
it. Yeah, that safety first, okay. And some people said that her constant concern for others could be a bit much, but she was super generous. She was super sweet. Like they knew
Yeah.
that it came from a place of love.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
when you grow up with a parent that you are the caretaker of, how are you not overly cautious? Because I mean, like you said, she had to grow up quickly, but that also means that she was aware at a very
right.
young age that if something happens to her, that there's no one to take care of her mother. That's a huge burden for a
It
kid.
really is. And like an awareness that most kids they don't have to have. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
She did also seem to have some emotional development kind of issues, which is understandable given her
Yeah.
difficult home life. She seemed to struggle with knowing how much to share with other people. It would be kind of like you might meet her for the first time and she's telling you really intimate details that might not be appropriate in that
Oh.
setting, or,
Yeah.
it might be something where you're like, "Ooh, we don't know each other that well. This is a lot of information." But she
Mhm.
had trouble knowing when to not share,
Yeah.
how much to share. Um, she
I
would
mean, I would go
ask
back to
people for
her.
information,
Yeah.
that kind
I
of
mean, I would
stuff.
also go back to her again being the caretaker of her mother at a very young age. Like, you're dealing with adults, you're dealing with health issues, which means you get very comfortable talking about those things because if you don't talk about them, then you don't get better. Like, you don't get the treatment that you need, kind of thing. So, like,
Right.
as a child, you're already learning and navigating like what's appropriate, when it's appropriate, not necessarily in like those kinds of contexts, but just like in general conversation, like you're learning the art of conversation. And like
Yes. Yeah.
when that, when oversharing in certain areas of your life is very normal, you have to learn to how to navigate that in other situations too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she had so much going on, so much going
Yeah.
against her. And unfortunately, her habit of sharing everything with everyone
Yeah.
became crucial in solving her murder.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It became very helpful in
Yeah.
that. Okay, so as she's growing up, there are different programs in the community, and her family ends up joining one when she's 9. And then out of that program, she joins the Police Explorers program. So
Okay.
one of the co-founders of this, his name is Robert Devine. Remember his name?
Oh, we hate him, don't we?
Yeah, in not a
Okay.
fun way. And okay, so he was the director of community policing for the force, which was basically a job that worked to create and improve connections between law enforcement officers and then the community members that they served.
Yeah.
And according to the Boston Globe, quote, at the time, leaders sorely needed to rebuild trust in a department tarnished by an extortion scandal and other controversies.
Okay, so this is in the 90s and we're already trying to repair our reputation. And then this is the same police department that we're continuing to have reputation issues with in the year of our Lord 2025.
Correct.
Okay, so we
It
have a long
mhm,
standing
long
history
standing.
of whatever this is.
Corruption,
Yeah.
fuckery, all the things, yeah.
Mhm.
Spoiler alert, this did not help.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so he ends up running the Explorers program, which was advertised as, quote, Oasis, which is the other program, and the police department believe in your kids and wishes to give them a positive foundation from which to build future success. Denise
Okay.
knew that Sandra looked up to police officers. She wanted to be a police officer one day. Remember, she's a rule follower.
Oh.
And she thought that police officers hung the moon, okay? And
Okay.
so she's like, this is perfect for her. Let's sign her up. So
Yeah.
she signs up Sandra, who at the time is 12 years old. And this is 2010.
Okay.
Now, people in the police department knew, and Stoughton's a pretty small town anyway, but they they were well known to the police department. Sandra was in middle school. Middle schoolers are terrible.
That is true.
Denise and Sandra had yeah, Denise and Sandra had to go to the police department because some girls from Sandra's school had called the house 3 times, threatening to beat her up. Um,
That's not okay.
I know. And according to one of Sandra's friends, it was just like nothing was easy for her. I just feel so
Oh, I
terrible for her.
hate
It's like
that.
every turn that she came
Yeah.
to was just another difficulty.
Yeah.
Um, Sandra also struggled with ADHD. She took medication for it. Sometimes she had to go to the nurse quite often. Um, they just were a family that had a lot going on, a lot of obstacles in their way, and they needed
Mhm.
support from the community. It takes a
Yeah,
village,
in
right?
various
Like,
different ways.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when she got to the Explorers program, she was like, oh my gosh, like this is my place. She was working really hard. She was making friends because there were other kids, in kind of
Oh,
her age
good.
group.
Yeah.
She looked up to the officers in the program. She just thought, this is my place. She kind of became a leader in the young explorers, like, to the ones that were younger than her.
Yeah.
And she continued through that program throughout high school, and then she enrolled in the Army Reserves after graduating in June of 2015, but she was kicked out and returned home a couple months later. They said she had not disclosed her asthma to the Army
Oh,
prior to training.
okay. I was
She,
like, they kicked her out.
I know. Yeah, they just that there's, I guess you can't
Yeah.
have the asthma. And she was like, you know what? That's not a problem. I'm going to enroll in the community college for criminal justice. And she did end up getting a degree in criminal justice. Like she was always like a roll with the punches kind of
Yeah,
person.
I was
Like,
gonna say, it
we'll
seems
figure it
like
out.
despite all of these, like, hardships and difficulties and whatever, like, she never let anything really slow her down.
Doesn't seem that way.
She was really
Um,
good at the pivot.
yes, yeah. She was very good at the pivot. In May of 2016, tragedy struck the Birchmore family. Denise,
Oh,
who was only
no.
52 years old at the time, had a stroke.
Ugh.
And Sandra, stuck by her mom's side.
Yeah.
She was helping take care of her, but unfortunately, less than 2 weeks after having the stroke, Denise passed away. And
Oh,
this was just
that's
a couple days
awful.
after Sandra's 19th birthday. And
Ugh.
then
So
less than a
now
month later, her
she's
grandmother
barely an
Claire
adult.
also died.
Oh my
A
gosh,
month.
she's barely an adult,
Yeah.
and now she's got
And
nobody.
those are her two closest people, her confidants.
Yeah.
Like some people said she struggled with keeping friends as,
Mm.
time went on. So like these were the two people that were like constant for her.
Yeah.
And she was absolutely crushed. One of her cousins later said to Sandra, or that to Sandra, it seemed as though her support network had essentially broken down. Like it was like she had nobody.
Yeah.
Um,
That's tough.
I know it's
That's
the
tough at any age, but that's especially tough at 19
mm-hmm. And
because
just a month
you're
apart.
an
Like,
adult, but still not, you
oh yeah,
know?
yeah, not a girl,
Man,
not yet a woman.
exactly.
Yeah. Her boyfriend at the time said that Sandra struggled with alcohol after her mother and grandmother died. Her journal entries may have indicated that she at times had suicidal thoughts, but
Mm.
she was determined to keep moving forward, particularly regarding her education. And one of her criminal justice professors told the Boston Globe, sometimes you see people come through who would crawl over glass to get their education, and she was one of those. She wasn't going to let any of that stand in the way.
Yeah.
And so she did graduate. She Now remember she had been part of this police explorers thing.
Right.
So because of those connections, she started doing ride-alongs with the Braintree Police Department, which is a town nearby.
Okay.
And this is when officers started to notice some behavior that they didn't feel like was compatible with becoming a police officer, although I would argue you don't know what's compatible given the officers you've hired, but
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
They said
Yeah,
she had
let's talk to the HR department.
exactly. They said she exhibited immature behavior. She would gossip a lot. She would be overly personal with officers. She would vent to them about her boyfriend. Some of them referred to her as being a little strange. One sergeant noted, quote, I think she's just young, lonely, bored, and looking for someone to listen to her.
Yeah, I was
Um,
gonna say, this sounds like I don't have anyone to talk to. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't sound like, just based off what you've said about her so far, that these behaviors are meant to be like manipulative or
Right.
negative in any way. Like, she's lonely. She
Yeah.
doesn't have connections. We know she doesn't have connections with her peers. Like,
Yeah.
she's just trying to find somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
And it
And
doesn't seem
she's
like she ever had the opportunity to really develop that skill at a young age. And now you're
exactly.
trying to develop it as a 19-year-old, and that's
Mhm.
weird for other adults. Like, that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Because most of us have learned that earlier on.
Mhm. Well,
So,
and most of us don't have the abuse history that we're going to get into that she has too, which
yeah.
will absolutely affect you mentally, your
Yeah.
development, your emotional maturity, all of those things.
Yeah.
So the Braintree police chief was getting multiple reports from other police officers about some of this, kind of same behavior. So he ended up kind of terminating her ability to do these ride-alongs. He was like, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
So that stops. She ends up getting a different job as a teacher's aide. Now we are going to move on to February 1st, 2021.
Okay.
So on Monday, February 1st, the community of Stoughton was preparing for a big nor'easter heading into the area. Sandra was 23 years old. She's working as a teacher's aide at East Elementary School. They let everybody out early that day at like 12:30 to make sure everybody could get home before the storm came in. Um, but by Thursday, February 4th, school is back in session and Sandra had not shown up to work. And by this point, she's missed a couple days, and this is very out of character for her. Her
Yeah.
coworkers were really worried. Nobody had been able to reach her. They'd been calling her. The school tried to call her emergency contact. They couldn't get in touch with that person. So they end up calling the police and ask them to do a well check.
They don't get out of school for very many days for these big storms. I mean, obviously, they're in a different area of the country, so they're, like, better equipped for this, but, like,
Yeah.
if they were like if they even think that there might be a slight
Oh my
dusting of
God, a
snow in
dusting.
our area, they're like, "Well, school's shut down for the next 6 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
Best wishes homeschooling your child.
Yep.
State testing will continue as planned.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you don't miss anything vital.
Yeah.
See you
Like,
when we see you," which is
we
never.
are absolutely not attempting to drive in this, but we
Yeah.
don't treat our roads like other
Yeah.
places do. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't happen here often, but
No,
anyway.
it does not. No. So Sandra was living in Canton at the time, which is not too far away from Stoughton. So two Canton officers go to perform a welfare check at Sandra's apartment, but nobody answers the door. So they go to the property manager, they get access to her apartment. When they first entered, they said nothing appeared out of order, but they did describe her apartment as like disheveled, kind of crap everywhere, that sort of
Mhm.
thing. But there were two cats that were wandering around. They go to the bedroom, which the door is closed, and they open it, and there they find Sandra. So Sandra is sitting on the floor. She's up against a closet door. There's a strap of a duffel bag wrapped around her neck,
Mhm.
and the other end is tied to the closet door handle. Her skin was blue and cold. She was very obviously deceased. She was pronounced dead by firefighter Whitley, who also testified in the Karen Reed trial. There are
Oh,
so many of the same players,
interesting.
so many, because I mean, John O'Keefe died in Canton,
Yeah.
and the Canton PD was supposed to have recused themselves from that. They only recused themselves from interviews. They found evidence. We lost evidence. The MSP came in. Some of the
Yeah.
same MSP officers are involved. It's insane. So, in the Canton PD reports, this is first noted as a blue scarf. One of the first officers says it's a blue scarf.
That's
Then
around her neck?
then another
Okay.
officer calls it a strap slash lanyard slash rope. And then a different officer in his report calls it a black strap.
Okay. If it's attached to a duffel bag, I would think that part would be obvious, right?
Well, I don't think it was attached to the duffel bag. It was just the strap of a duffel bag.
Oh, okay. So, like, maybe, like, the long strap where, like, you can take those off sometimes, like that
Yeah,
kinda thing?
I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
The note taking or report writing of
Mhm.
Canton PD and the Massachusetts State Police I will never understand their method because they
Okay.
seem to not give a flying f if any of it's correct.
Okay.
In a lot of the reports in the Karen Reed case, like wrong addresses, wrong times, wrong names sometimes, they would leave stuff out. They would, oh yeah, they would testify, well, yes, this person told me this at the scene. Why did it not make it in your report? I don't know. I just didn't put it in there.
Okay.
Some of these reports weren't written for months, weeks, days, years later sometimes.
As a police officer, one of your, I would argue, the most important part of your job, let's say, is observation and note taking. Okay. If you can't do that, that's literally step one. That's step
Right.
one. If you can't, like Cardi B, if you
Cardi
can't
B,
do this,
yeah.
yeah, and then write it down in a cohesive format that is also accurate, maybe this isn't the job for you. You know?
And it's all just like defended. And these reports here, some of them were not written for over a month after, I'm pretty sure.
That's
Like,
insane.
I know the MSP did not write their reports right away. I can't off the top of my head because I've looked at so many documents remember exactly when these were written, but none of them match, which is a problem.
Is there not a protocol for like
They've
the
never read a
amount of
protocol.
time that you have to turn in a report? I would assume it's within 24 hours or 40, like I would assume that we would want you to make a report within a specified amount of time.
Nah, not
No?
there, not in
Okay.
Canton. I
Okay.
mean, this is the same police department that thought it was appropriate to use a leaf blower to try to find evidence in the snow at the scene of John O'Keefe's
Oh,
death,
well, that's true. I didn't.
and they put the blood in the snow in Solo cups.
That's right. I did forget about that, so
So
that's my bad.
yeah, same guys. Her cell phone was on the floor. It was about a foot away from her right hand and her bent right knee. It was later found that the phone had locked at 9:13 p.m. on Monday the 1st and then never reopened. Sandra was pronounced dead, and to the responding officers, it was deemed a quote, cut and dry suicide within 4 hours of arriving on the scene, except
Okay.
that there was also an active restraining order on her fridge related to an ex boyfriend. There's video surveillance of a man who was known to Sandra at the time by other people visiting her the night of her death, and he was there for about 29 minutes. He was there
Hmm.
during the last time that her phone was ever locked and never reopened.
Okay.
And she was literally in the middle of laundry. Like she had one load in the washer that needed to be moved over to the dryer. She was making plans. She was scheduling newborn
Yeah.
photography. She was buying clothing items. She was buying strollers, like she's
Yeah.
doing all of the stuff. She's making future plans. She's scheduling doctor's appointments. Like she's very future focused.
Yeah.
It did not make sense. Like those circumstances didn't line up with somebody who was planning to take their own life.
Right.
And she was very excited about this child. She also had a necklace that she wore everywhere all the time. It had a pink flamingo charm on it. It was broken.
Interesting.
The police, though, did not find this, and if they found it, they didn't note it in any of their reports. Her family found this afterwards. We'll talk about that
Of
in a little while.
of course they did. Yeah.
So, officers contact the DA's office, which oversees all death investigations in Massachusetts, and they refer State Trooper Matthew Dunn to the scene. So, he's going to go and kind of take over. He and Trooper Fanning are going to do all of the John Fanning, all of the interviews and all of the things. Fanning, big fucking problem
Okay.
in the Karen Reed case, okay? So
Mm.
he's got a lot of shady stuff going on.
We're really bringing out the breast. We're really bringing out the best and the brightest that we've got for this, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Well,
So Trooper Fanning was a big part of the Karen Reed case. He was involved in an internal affairs investigation, just like Michael Proctor, who has now lost his job, and now he's in some hot water because all of his texts have just been released and all that stuff.
right. Has Fanning lost his job?
No, he got, I think, shuffled around, but he's still there.
Oh.
But but he also was in charge of the jury in the trial,
Interesting.
which seemed very strange. And her defense team was like,
Hmm.
oh, this doesn't feel
Don't like
good.
that.
And
Don't
the
like
judge,
that.
Canoni, was like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Like, whatever. Anyway,
Okay.
so that's Trooper Fanning.
Okay.
So he's a big part of this too. He's going to do interviews
Some
after
stuff and
and all that
things.
kind of stuff. But Trooper Dunn was kind of the main investigator, I guess. So he was told from the jump that Canton police were investigating this case as an apparent suicide death. And he
Okay.
does nothing to
Contradict that.
no.
Why do we send them in and say, hey, we're investigating this as a suicide instead of saying, hey, we have a death that we need you to investigate, and then
Correct.
compare notes or maybe see what conclusions they come to, or I don't know. Like, because no matter what they said, even if they said we're investigating this as a homicide, that automatically skews your bias towards how you're looking at things regardless, right?
Well, if it's an unattended death, from what I understand, you're supposed to investigate it as a homicide because that is like you are going to keep the most evidence. You are going to cast the widest net. And
Keep
then
more
as you
than
go
you
down,
think.
you might say, this is a suicide. I have no evidence that
Right.
anybody else would have, could have, blah, 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 committed it. Maybe they don't have an autopsy yet. They don't fucking know if it's a suicide yet.
Also, this is just a general question. And I know, I kind of know the answer, but I'm going to ask anyway, right? Why do we not investigate every single death as if it's a potential homicide? You know, that way we're sure.
I think some places do.
I think they should. And I'm sure like part of the answer is like money, the amount of money it takes to like, because of time and resources, like that kind of thing. Like, I'm sure that's probably part of the answer. But if we don't rule, or like if we don't consider every possible unattended death a homicide, like how many are we missing?
Well, right. And that's a big problem. And some of it has to do with, unfortunately, and it shouldn't be this way, but how much do we care about this person?
Right. Right.
How influential is this person? What kind of connections do they have? You know, all of these things. And then people, and some of it I think is they just want to wrap stuff up sometimes, not all police officers, but there are some who are like, I want to get this off my books and it be done and I don't want to have to deal with it. And in this case, we're going to see that it could very well have to do with we are protecting one of our own. So there's that to consider too. They do take her body to the OCME, the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner, and the medical examiner ruled her death as a suicide.
Okay.
It was noted in this autopsy report that her hyoid bone was broken, which is a bone like in your neck.
Yeah.
Which
that's
is
the one that's usually broken if it's like a
strangulation or or a complete hanging.
Yeah.
Yes.
Strangulation. That's the word I was looking for. I was like, what is it when you...
Yeah. It's inconsistent with what appeared to be what Sandra had done, which is an incomplete hanging or a sitting hanging. Because remember, she was sitting on the floor and it was she wasn't found hanging
also
in the air.
We just did, the suspicious death of Bethany Deaton. I don't know where in recording on the schedule that falls, but that's the one we recorded just before this, right? And her death was also ruled a suicide, but it was very suspicious the way it happened, obviously, because it was a suspicious death. But like the method in that was not a method that would have been easy for someone to do to themselves, right? And so like like how she was sitting, if I was going to end my life that way by strangulation or hanging or whatever we want to call it, that means I have to continue to put the pressure on myself. And at some point, my body's fight or flight is going to kick in and try to save me, whether mentally I want to save myself or not. So why I asked this in the other episode too, why would that be the method that I would choose if ending it is my ultimate goal? Like, I would think
Right.
that I would want to pick a more
surefire
way to do this.
Yeah. It is done, but it is, from what I've read, it is less common than hanging from something where your feet are off the ground.
Yeah. And again, like, not impossible, but also not probable.
Not as
likely. Right. And that's even before we know anything else about what's happening.
Right. She did also have the petechial hemorrhaging, so like the,
the eyelids.
Yeah. Now, if the officers, except for, from what I can tell, Officer Cotard, I've read multiple things that he was either an SRO officer at the school that she worked at and helped respond to this, or he was a Canton PD patrol officer.
If he was an SRO and he helped respond, how awful.
Well, I know. And he's the only one that actually reported appropriately. He actually made follow-up calls to people. He asked questions. He then reported that information to the MSP. He did 10 times more work than anybody in the MSP did. And he wasn't even on the case.
That's devastating. So, I mean, the whole thing's devastating, but...
Exactly. Because this is their job. So this is a man with integrity. He's a good police officer.
Yeah.
Had any of the other officers who were actually assigned to her case cared to investigate, they would have found years of abusive behavior by one of their very own that would absolutely have made him a prime suspect in her murder.
Interesting.
Okay. So the name that keeps popping up when they do talk to people is Matthew Farwell. That's Detective Matthew Farwell of the Stoughton Police Department. And on January the 20th, about a week and a half before Sandra died, a call came into the Stoughton Police Department. Okay. This was from a friend of Sandra's who was furious because she said that Sandra owed her $248 and she wanted to get this money back. And the police were like, this is not our fucking problem. Like, you're going to have to deal with that. And so she got angry. And she was like, okay, fine. Then, just so you know, Sandra is sleeping with Detective Matthew Farwell, who works for your police department. And I am livid that this person who took the call, instead of making a report about that and sending it up the chain, went to Matthew Farwell and said, hey, I just got this call and this person said that you're sleeping with Sandra Birchmore. And Farwell was like, don't say anything about this to anybody. He was absolutely furious. He said, you can't tell anybody, like, what the fuck is going on. He, like, kind of blew up about it. And this person, I don't know who the officer or person was that took the call, but they said it was out of character for him to, like, blow up like that in anger.
Yeah. Okay, question. At the time that this person's calling in about this money, Sandra is an adult right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then, I know this is relevant to the overall story, but in that moment, why do we care that she's sleeping with him? Like, why did the friend say that?
It will become more, it'll become more apparent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I don't know if I'm the person that took the call, if I would write that down either. Because what is the relevance of you telling me this other than you're just trying to, like... Because if I take the call from this person, I'm like, okay, she owes you money. You're mad at her. I've told you that's not something the police can help you with. And so now you're just... It seems like you're just kind of spewing some anger at me. And if they're both adults and they're both consenting, then why do I care? Like, it's not illegal to sleep with someone who is a police officer in a consensual, normal circumstances manner.
Yeah. When all the details come out, it'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, at this point, I don't know that I blame them for not writing it down.
I can see
is weird that she went, or he, or whoever took the call. It is weird that person went to them and said something about it. Because again, I would be like, why would I even care? I'm not even going to go talk to him about it. But the fact that they went and talked to them about it is already weird to me. But then if I went to talk to them and they had a weird out of character reaction, I think at that point maybe I would go back and note it. But just like off the cuff, I
Yeah.
would be like, okay, thank you
Yeah.
for telling me, I
Yeah.
guess.
And he is married, but again, it's not illegal to have an affair, but yeah.
Yeah.
So then he's furious. He texts Sandra and
Mm-hmm.
he says, "Dude, your fucking friend called my job." Sandra, what the she says, just a question mark. He
Mm-hmm.
says, "Your friend just called my fucking work to complain about me. What the And she said IDK. He said, "What do you mean you don't know?" And she said, "I literally just woke up." He says, "Did you steal from her?" And she goes, "Nope." He says, "What's going on?" And then he said, "You also told me that no one knew about us, yet she claimed we are fucking." And she goes, "It's literally nothing." And Farwell says, "It's not nothing. She called my job. That's insane." He said, "Why would she call and drop my fucking name, Sandra? Like, what do I have to do with you not giving her something? Like, you have no idea how bad what she did is. I literally can't believe this is even real life. Like, what else do I have to worry about now? Which other friend will do something tomorrow?" And remember, this is like 10 days before she's dead.
Okay. Yeah, his reaction is definitely concerning. If I now knowing that he was married, if I took the call, um, and someone was like, "Well, she's sleeping with so and so," it might depend on how messy I was feeling that day, whether I wrote that down or not.
I mean, now, this friend of Sandra's wasn't the only one with information and concerns about Matthew Farwell. According to the Boston Globe, at least 11 people contacted law enforcement after Sandra's death with stories that they'd heard about her, from her about Matthew. Her
Interesting.
cousin, Angelique Perosi, immediately started posting on social media. She was asking anybody who knew anything about Sandra or any of her relationships to contact the authorities. They knew that she did not die by suicide. They knew that something else happened and they
Yeah.
wanted this to be investigated. And she was pregnant. So they also knew how excited she was to be a mother. She was even telling coworkers about her pregnancy, people who they thought it was weird that she was even sharing that with them because they were like, "We don't know each other all that well. We don't really work
Yeah.
together very often." And she was announcing this to them when she was like 4 or 5 weeks pregnant. Like they would ask her, like, "Oh, how far along?" And she's like,
Yeah.
4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever. And they're like,
Okay,
"Okay, most
that was
people
gonna
don't
be my
share that until
question.
12 weeks." Like,
Yeah, is how far along was she?
yeah.
Not that you can't be excited, but like you said, typically
Yeah, and
yeah.
if you do share, just typically, some people wanna share immediately,
Right.
and that's fine, but there is, that fear of, like, what if there is a loss and, all of those
Yeah.
things. Typically, if you are sharing that with somebody really early, it's usually somebody that you are pretty close to,
Yeah.
not just anybody you see, like, "Oh, I'm pregnant, I'm 4 weeks pregnant," like,
Yeah.
it's just it was a little unusual.
Also, knowing you're pregnant when it's only been 4 weeks is insane to me because obviously, I was not good at keeping track apparently, but, like, I mean, I had friends who were like, "I got pregnant yesterday," and I'm like, "Girl,
Mhm.
how do you
Yeah, how do
know?
you yeah.
How do you know?"
Yeah.
But dang.
I was actually very good at keeping track. I knew it 4 to 5 weeks with both. But I also started throwing up, like, immediately, so
Yeah,
that was a clue.
okay, but also what I was gonna say with that is that if you know you're pregnant at 4 or 5 weeks, it's probably because you're trying to get pregnant, because
Yes.
otherwise, why are you checking? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Yeah. And we will talk about that too because
okay,
that's a part of it.
okay.
But she was talking to them about baby names, what kind of things she wanted to buy for them. A friend went with her to go get a $200 baby stroller. She was planning that newborn shoot. She had also made a big colorful sign that read, "Congrats, we are going to be parents," and then 2021 underneath it.
Oh, shit.
um, with cute little like animals glued around the border to announce her pregnancy to the father of the baby, which was Matthew Farwell,
Oh, shit.
married police
Mhm.
officer. All right.
Did she knew he was married, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
you
not good.
just wait, just wait.
Okay.
All right, so Matthew Farwell is a twin. His both of them dipshits. There's Matthew and there's William who went by Billy. Anyway,
Uncle Baby
unless you're Uncle
Billy.
Baby Billy, then I don't want to hear that. They were in Deputy Police Chief Robert Devine's first class of explorers. So
Oh.
they kind of became Robert Devine's like little mentors or mentees.
Mentees.
Yes, that one. They were constantly in trouble. They both dropped out of high school before graduation. They eventually got their GEDs. Devine was kind of supporting them all the way through. Matthew ends up in the army. He serves for almost 4 years. Then he comes back home. He gets, at the recommendation of Devine, a job as a law enforcement officer in a nearby town. And then in
Perfect.
2012, he moves over to the Stoughton Police Department. Before he moves to the Stoughton Police Department, he volunteered with the Explorers program as like a
Like one of the
leader.
mentors
Yeah.
in that time.
And his brother Billy did as well. But then
Okay.
when he moved to the Stoughton Police Department, he was actually employed there. And so he was like part of the
Got it. Yeah.
aide team, I guess. At this time in 2012, Matthew was 27 and Sandra was 15. Now he met her.
Oh.
Again, he met her when she was 12.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Okay. And then by this point, she's 15. And at that point, he starts meeting her outside of the Explorers program at places like the library so he could help her study.
I'm going to be honest, I was not expecting this big of an age gap.
It's pretty big, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
In late
When that-
October of
yeah.
that year, the adult police officer friended her on Facebook, which is fucking weird.
Yeah.
Now, the people around Sandra did not see the red flags. They did not see this as grooming. They saw it as a
Okay.
police officer taking her under his wing.
Okay.
And I think that that's what Sandra saw it as too at first.
Uh-huh.
Now it was years long grooming,
Right.
but you don't know that until it's too late, right?
Yeah. I think that's what makes things tough though, because especially like for her, a person who didn't have a lot of peers, friends, other people around her, and like you're part of this program and he's part of this program, so there's like this inherent feeling of like, oh, I can trust you, and like I'm just trying to be another good influence in your life because you don't have a dad. Like, if his intentions were not nefarious, you wouldn't want to discourage that kind
Right.
of mentorship, you know?
Right.
But like you said, you don't know until it's too late. I mean, like you think about people who, like you think about the stories you hear about kids, like coaches and like stuff like that. Like it all starts now, whether the authority figure's intentions are pure in the beginning or not is not what I'm talking about here. But like it starts as a very normal kind of thing. Like it doesn't, they're not snatching kids out of the street being like, hey, do you want to come study at the library? Like,
right. Yeah. Well, and because you have to develop trust and all
some
the
sort of
things.
trust and a foundation. Yeah.
And somebody who has proclivities like this, sick, disgusting proclivities like this,
Yeah.
they are going to, I bet he jumped at the fucking chance to be part of that Explorers program. You get access to kids. Yeah, I'll coach the team. Yeah, I'll help with Boy Scouts. Yeah,
Yeah. And this is why we can't have nice things.
This is why we can't have nice things. All right. So Sandra's cousin, Angelique, contacted the state troopers who were investigating Sandra's death, and she said, my message to them from the get-go was she was having a sexual relationship with a married police officer. She was excited about being a mom. She did not kill herself. You need to look into this.
Yeah. Dang, that has red flags all over it.
Yeah. Spoiler, they didn't think that had anything to do with it.
I would like to say I'm shocked by that information, but I am not.
Nope, not even a little bit. So officers on scene did meet with the apartment building's property manager, Aaron Porter, to take a look at the lobby security footage. Now, what is very interesting to me is Sergeant Lank with the Canton PD. On his way over there, when he gets the call, he's like, secure the scene, start looking for surveillance footage and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, so you do know how to secure a crime scene. And you do know how to canvass for footage, because in the John O'Keefe case, we did not do either.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, another police officer lived like catty corner from the house in the lawn where John O'Keefe was found. And he had Ring camera footage.
Oh.
And
but we didn't ask for it.
maybe asked him about it, maybe didn't, but all of the police officers were like, nah, it wouldn't have shown anything. I just know it. There was nothing on it. They asked nobody else in the neighborhood if they had anything. They didn't find any other, they didn't look for anything. And then they reported to the media the day after all of this happened that they had Karen on ring camera footage running him over, which they did not have because they didn't try to get any. All of that to say, I'm like, oh, so you do know how to do this. And also,
Yeah.
Sandra Birchmore was killed almost a year to the day before John O'Keefe died. So
Interesting.
at some point, Lank knew how to secure a crime scene and look for footage.
Right.
Anyway.
Okay.
So they go talk to Aaron Porter, the manager. They look at the security footage, and you can see her picking up food. She walks in through the lobby on her phone. The last footage of her, she's walking inside with a snow brush, wearing the same clothes that she was later found in. Inside the apartment, though, Trooper Dunn said, look, there's no signs of a struggle. There's no defensive wounds on her body. He also reported finding, quote, no bruising, swelling, or external trauma, nor any markings that would show that she was trying to loosen the strap around her neck. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
The property manager, though, was like, this doesn't seem right. So after the police left
Yeah.
that day, she took another look at the security footage, and on February 1st, after Sandra was seen for the last time on video around 5:45 p.m., she sees a tall man enter the lobby and get into the elevator around 9:14 p.m. Not around, it was 9:14 p.m. Okay, so he's wearing like a big black hoodie, the hood is up, and he's wearing a COVID mask looking kind of
Okay.
thing, like a
Yeah.
mask. He, waits at the elevator, he gets in, and then 29 minutes later, he comes down and exits the elevator and leaves.
Mhm.
Thankfully, she shared this with investigators, not that it fucking mattered for
Right.
a couple of years, but anyway.
But she's doing her part.
She's doing her part.
She
and
can't
she
do their job
said-
for them.
Yeah, and she's like, I have seen this man before. He helped Sandra move into her apartment. She did not, at that time, wasn't sure if it was, and again, I went through a lot of documents, so I think it was her that said, I don't know if it's her ex-boyfriend, and then gave his name, or, which is also the one she had a restraining order against. Remember, that was on the fridge for them to see the
Right.
whole time. Let's not follow up with that.
Yeah.
Or is it Matthew Farwell? But again,
But she named them both by
Yes.
name.
at
Okay.
least somebody did.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly which one. She also shared that a woman had called the apartment complex's emergency lounge with a tip, something that she said that Sandra had shared with her. And Sandra had told this person, my boyfriend, who is a police officer, told me to get an abortion or, quote, he would take care of the problem himself. Okay. Stoughton
Interesting.
Police Chief Donna McNamara launched an internal affairs investigation regarding the allegations about Matthew. 2 days after finding Sandra, it was time to speak with him, and so they told him about the allegations that had been made and that they had been told that he may be the person in the hoodie on the video surveillance footage.
Okay.
Trooper Fanning and Dunn interviewed Matthew Farwell.
Perfect. Love that.
I would love to tell you they interviewed him on video at the police station and it was very professional. I regret to inform you
Cameras
that's not
were not
possible.
working that day.
They didn't even do it. They met him in a parking lot and talked to
Oh.
him there.
Well, their cameras certainly weren't working that day.
No. They did not turn on their body-worn camera. They didn't record it with audio, anything like that. The report was drafted well over a month later. It was like a couple paragraphs long. It was short as, and they referred to him exclusively in this report as Matt. Matt said
Okay.
this. Matt said that.
This feels like an informal conversation between colleagues, not
Yes.
an internal investigation.
No. Well, and this would not be the internal investigation. This is just the investigation into her death.
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
and
still feels like an informal conversation,
big
not
time.
an investigation.
Yeah, and in the report, so Fanning drafted this report, and in the report he says, Trooper Dunn and I went to meet Matthew Farwell in XYZ parking lot to get his statement or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, in the suicide death of Sandra Birchmore. And this is a couple of days later. It is already just referred to in every report as the suicide death of Sandra Birchmore.
Why would you not just say the death of
in the death of,
Sandra Birchmore?
Because
Okay.
we've already decided. So, according to the report, Matt said he'd known Sandra since she was in the Explorers program and he felt bad for her and how she'd grown up, so he kind of kept an extra eye on her or whatever.
Yeah.
Matt said he did have a sexual relationship with Sandra, but said it began in 2020 when she was 22 years old. He said that the first time that they had sex, he was drunk and she had, contacted him and propositioned him basically, and he was like, weak and accepted, but they'd only ever
Mm.
had sex a couple of times, and the last time that they'd had sex was 4 months ago, so there was absolutely no way that he could have been the father of her baby. He had no idea what she was talking about. He
Okay.
also said she has sex with other people too, not just me, so maybe look into that. He also
Okay.
said that he did go to her apartment that night, and he was going there to break up with her and to tell her that she was crazy. He was going to end things for good. He was going to tell her that she was crazy. He was going to tell her, this baby is not mine. I don't know what you're talking about. He said they'd had a pretty nasty argument, but she didn't seem depressed when he left, and it never got too loud. When he left, she was standing in her kitchen. Now,
Okay.
remember, Sandra doesn't keep anything to herself. She tells
Right.
everybody everything that happens, and she tells them the moment that it happens. So the fact
Mhm.
that he would have come in there and broken up with her,
Right.
and he's the father of her child, and she's
Mhm.
told people he's the father of her child, she would have immediately texted or called somebody and been like, oh my God, Matthew broke up with me, like blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, or he's denying that he's the father of my child or literally anything.
Yep,
Okay.
nothing.
And we
Get
know her
ready.
phone doesn't turn on again after he's seen leaving the
Yep,
building.
never again. So
Hmm.
they look into Matthew's movements more closely later. Certainly not the troopers,
Not
um,
right now.
but other people do.
Right.
And guess where Matthew went when he left Sandra's apartment that night after he strangled her to death?
Oh, Jesus, where?
He went to the hospital where his wife gave birth to their third child. She was in labor at the
Oh.
time that he went over to Sandra's apartment to
Oh.
kill her.
Okay. Wow. Was
Oh.
she not like, "Sir, where the are you?
He probably
You don't
was
get to
like,
dip
I'm
out
on
right
duty or
now.
something. Yeah,
Uh, I do not care.
I know.
Get
I
your
wouldn't
ass to the
care.
hospital.
Yeah, so yeah, he
Somebody's
went.
gotta hold my hand."
Yeah. So when Sandra
Okay.
had learned that Matthew's wife was pregnant with their third child, she was pretty upset. She was like, I want a baby too. How come I don't get a baby too? And he knew that she had the power to ruin his marriage and get him in trouble for statutory, because we're going to
Mm,
get into some of the text messages, and this is totally going to be a two-part. So in the next part, we're going to get into the
yeah.
text messages where he himself confirms in disgusting detail that they were having sex when she was as young as 15. The first time they slept, the first time he
Okay.
raped her was
Right.
15, and he was 27. Remember, so this
Mm.
has been going on years and years and years, right?
Yeah, almost a decade.
Mm-hmm. So he his wife is pregnant with their third child, and she wanted a family. She believed that they were in love, I think. I think that she
Yeah.
believed that he was like with her, kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
She wanted to have a child, and so basically she was like, "Get me pregnant." And he was like, "Okay, fine." So she sends him her ovulation schedule, and they start to plan encounters around that. Yes.
Okay.
And then it was December 28th, 2020, that she told him that she was pregnant and sent him that picture of that sign that she had made. And she says, so when she sent him the sign, he texted her, how far are you? She said, regardless of how far, we're keeping it, but 3.5 weeks. And then she says, which means I conceived this month. He says, okay, well, we need to talk then. And she says, no shit. That's obvious. And the birth certificate is being signed, or hers isn't, meaning his wife's.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then she says, no, I'm mad. You're acting how you are over a choice we both made. And he said, I'm mad. You act like you gave anyone a choice. And she said, LMAO. Oh, so you didn't have a choice? And then he says, per usual, you make and do whatever you want. She said, all I did was say, can I have it? You said, have what? And I said, you know what I'm asking for? And you stood up and said, yeah. You've been doing that. You're mad she's due in February and I am in September, and you don't know how you're going to be there for both of us. And you need to be there during labor for me too, because your kid should matter. And then she corrected an earlier text. And then he says, you are truly the worst person on the face of the earth. And then after this text, Sandra threatened to expose the truth about his prior sexual abuse, their ongoing sexual relationship. And he responded by indicating that she had threatened him, causing him to agree to impregnate her. He says, for the past week and a half, for the past week, and there are some like typos in it. So it's, for the past week and half, the doctor wasn't right, but now she was, and you just throw it at me because now you've got me. You honestly have absolutely no idea how to treat people. I have fucking bent over backwards for you. Now you want to act like this was some free will decision. You've threatened me from the word go. If I didn't do and give you what you wanted, you would ruin me. I made a deal with you and you changed the terms at every turn. We will deal with this tomorrow. Interesting that he sees himself as a victim here.
Yeah, I was going to say, sir, these are the consequences of your actions. Mm-hmm. Your choices.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't, like, assault children. Make them think that you're in love with them and that you're going to have a life together. And, yeah, man.
Yeah, you don't get to say you're manipulating me when you were the manipulator from the beginning.
100%. 100%. I also heard that the statistic is once a pedophile gets caught, they've already abused over 100 times.
Wow.
There has to be more than just Sandra as far as sexual abuse victims from him. Interviews with Sandra's friends continued to reveal concerning behavior from Matthew. One said that after Sandra told Matthew about the baby, he told her that he wished she would die and wanted nothing to do with the baby. And she told another friend that after showing him a sonogram, he had pushed her down to the ground. She also reported this to her therapist, who did report that. Now, again, this is once the feds get involved. This is not MSP and asking these people these questions. But right before, so all of this is happening, and then right before she dies, she's telling her friends, oh my gosh, he's changed. She now says he seems different, calmer, kinder, and more open to the commitment that she's asking for. So on January 24th, 2021, approximately 1 week prior to her death, she communicated with in the affidavit refers to as person 8 about Farwell. So Sandra says, so the father came by last night. It was like a complete 360. And then the person 8 says, you mean 180? And she goes, yeah, LOL. And person 8 says, good or bad? And Sandra says, good but unexpected. So it kind of threw me off and made me a little uncomfortable, but that's because of how things were going. He asked me if I'd give him a key to her apartment and said if I keep it a secret, he'll be around and see them and all that. So it's somewhere. Then he looked in my closet and then the bathroom, but I don't know why. I haven't figured that out. She said, we started to heart, then work called, so he had to leave. She said, oh, and he brought me a ginger ale because I ran out. Person 8 says, what about the birth certificate? She says, I think he's signing it. I'm not sure. He's coming back again this week. But it was like a complete 180 from where we were at. And what Sandra did not know was that Matthew was attempting to appease her so that he could get close enough to her, case her apartment, and kill her.
100% that's what he's doing.
And that's where we're going to end part 1.
I hate him.
Isn't he the worst?
He's the fucking worst.
And we're still not done. There's still so much more. There's still so much more. Oh my God. I knew, like, as soon as I knew we were doing this, I was like, I'm gonna, and it's gonna be a 2-parter because there's just so much. We haven't even gotten to his disgusting text messages. We haven't gotten to his fetishes that they uncovered. And we haven't gotten to the other people that are quite likely involved.
Wow. And okay. I will put a pin in this and I will wait for the next episode.
Mm-hmm. Which is
going to be, for me, is like 5 minutes from now.
Yeah. And if you're a patron, it could also be 5 minutes from now. You'll get part 2 immediately. And if you're not a patron, no worries. You'll get it next week.
Yeah. I'm mad.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't quite boiled over yet, but I think it's because I know there's more coming. And so I'm trying to just save it.
Yeah.
but I'm very upset.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yep. And we will
Okay.
continue the rage on the next episode.
All right. Well, we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
If you like this episode, be sure to like this episode and follow the show so that you never miss out on new episodes. Get in on the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us at Killer Queens Pod, or you can join our Facebook discussion group at Killer Queens Podcast, where we discuss cases covered on the show and all things 90s. If you want to submit a case to be covered on the show, visit killerqueenspodcast.com/case submission and just complete the form. And if we cover the case, we'll give you a shout out on the show. Lilas!